Um, so let's talk about U20 World Cup. So this was causing a bit of a stir on Twitter after Ezra Hendrickson had made the decision to not release Chris Brady and Guti to go play in the U20 World Cup. And on the flip side, there was Jim Curtin who released, I forget exactly who it was, but it was a few players, I think, to participate in the U20 World Cup. It was Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, and Brandon Craig. And there's a quote from Jim Curtin on this. He said, "Think about the kids, and I'm getting fired up. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity that they may never get back again. To prevent them from playing in the U20 World Cup, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that." I can imagine already off the jump where you sit on this, but uh, I'll let you comment on this first. What do you think about Ezra not letting them go and seemingly keeping them there so that they can get first team minutes with Chicago?
If Chicago were in a playoff race or a shield race with 5 games to go, it makes sense. We're 10 games into a 34 game season where 68% of the teams make the playoffs. Ezra, you can survive 4 games without them. Taking away the opportunities for these kids to do literally a once in a lifetime opportunity and play for their U20 national team. Something that could, one, raise their stock in as a Chicago Fire player for future sales, which they eventually will, and two, raise their level in the national team by good performances at the youth national team level. By taking that away because you want the Chicago Fire to go from 10th to 8th over a 4-game period is criminal. Taking that away from those kids is so wrong, and I think they've both taken it completely maturely with their responses, saying, I understand, I'm not happy, but I will do my job because that's what I'm getting paid to do. Fantastic response from the kids. But I think the tweet that I put out most about this is summed down to this. If your roster build is so bad in MLS 4.0, where you need 2 18-year-old kids to help you get to the bottom of the playoffs, you shouldn't punish them for being 18. You should punish yourselves for being idiots in the way that you build your roster. Plain and simple. It's completely ridiculous.
So first of all, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It is absolutely beyond stupid for them to keep them there. But I do want to add on to that as well that the way that Chicago lined up recently in their last game against Red Bull had Guti playing as, I guess, like the number 10 behind Kamara. Mm-hmm. On the bench, seemingly as Guti's replacement if he was at the U20 World Cup, just Fabian Herbers, who's an MLS veteran, and how about Xherdan Shaqiri? You really think Chicago's just going to fall off a map because Guti got subbed out for Xherdan Shaqiri? Like, are you kidding me? That's insane. You have maybe more of an argument with Chris Brady, but at least you have Spencer Ritchie as a backup to come in. Like
who did
Ritchie,
well, by the way, in the 1 game that he played this year.
yeah, and is another guy that's been around MLS for ages. Like we'd easily jump in there. And I guarantee you the level of Chicago will not drop off that much, considering you're in 10th. Can only drop 5 more places. You really gonna you think the team's just gonna completely implode because you lost Chris Brady and Brian Gutierrez for a couple games? Like, it's insane. And you took away there's no, sorry, let me take a step back for a second.
Go ahead.
There's no guarantee that Gutierrez and Brady ever make it to the national team level. Like, it's great that they're getting this opportunity now at the U20 level. Let them take it. This could be their only shot to be able to represent the US at any sort of World Cup. Because there's no guarantee that they're making it to the top level to be able to play in the men's national team at a World Cup. And now you've completely taken away their chance where they could have probably even been in and around the starting lineup for the U20 World Cup. I would not be surprised to see Brian Gutierrez in that starting lineup. And you've taken that away from them because you didn't build your team well.
By the way, he's gotten better each and every game. Chris Brady is not your make or break guy right now. He's usually more your break guy than your make guy with all the mistakes that he's made so far. So yeah. I understand the whole get him over here and let him help us get better. I can probably count on 2 hands how many points he's cost you this year with mistakes that he's made. So I understand the preface, but I think it's completely out of line. I love Jim Curtin's response. One, because he built his team like somebody with a break and was like, oh, I should probably have good backups for my teenagers. But also for the fact that he understands, like at the end of the day, once in a lifetime opportunity. The pros massively outweigh the cons, and Philadelphia also not flying right now. By the way,
Yep.
they are not sitting where Connor predicted them to be. That's for sure. But
Yeah, definitely not just me. To
right,
your point, they have the exact same amount of points as Chicago. They're
that's
one
and that's
spot
my
ahead.
and that's my point, right? So these guys are in, if not
It's the
relative to where
exact same.
people
Yeah.
relative to where people thought they would be, they're in a worse position than you are. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, don't worry about it. Go represent your country and do it well. And Ezra's like, I don't know, maybe not. Like, it's silly. Like, excuse me, you've got these two kids who are bright talents in the national team that could possibly one day make it into a roster. But instead, you're going to hold them back and hope that they can help you remain in a playoff race with 2/3 of a season to go. Where's the logic? I don't see it. Again, if this is 5 games to go in a season, you're pushing for the playoffs, or you're, gosh forbid, Chicago is pushing for a shield, or you're in a U.S. Open Cup run where you're in the semifinals or the finals. It's a different story. These 5 games, I promise you, if you took them out, have minimal impact on where they go. Like, I don't understand the logic behind it. And to your point, it's not like they've got nobody on the bench to replace them. You've got the
Yeah.
second highest paid player in the league sitting on your bench behind an 18-year-old American. You're not dropping the level to the floor. You've got an MLS veteran in Spencer Ritchie, who was a starter for a good amount of his career, that can replace Chris Brady and probably calm things down a little bit better than he does when he comes out flapping and crosses all day. The options are there. This isn't like it's a we don't have a choice. You had a choice and you chose to ruin these kids' international youth careers. Baffling. Baffling.
Yeah. And to add to that, the level that the Met, like the senior team, has gotten to at this point is almost to the point where you kind of have to either be literally top of MLS, or you have to have experience in Europe. And I
Correct.
think experience in Europe is growing to be more of the dominant here with the senior level, and a massive opportunity for them to get eyes on them from people overseas would be the U20 World Cup. I guarantee there's going to be tons of people scouting it from around the world. Would be a great opportunity for them to possibly get that move. And now you've hurt that more because there's probably less scouts watching MLS games from overseas than there are scouts watching the U20 World Cup. So now, not only have you hurt them on the youth level, you've probably hurt them on the even like senior team track level.
Well, and here's the thing too, right? Where do you think Chris Brady is getting better looks? Chicago, where even if somebody's watching, he's playing against grown men and looking like a child at times, looking great in other times. By the way, I don't want to. I'm not. This isn't a Chris Brady hate show. This isn't like a Minnesota United, link. I enjoy Chris Brady, and I think his game is good, but he has mistakes that he makes. Now, where is he going to get better exposure? Are you going to get exposure in MLS where he's making those mistakes, or at the U20 level where he's playing against kids his own age and showing up that he's got top level talent, top level experience, and now putting it up against people when they're watching it against other kids his age, he's going to be top of the top. So, not even from let's take this now to a Chicago Fire business model, right? First off, you've got the Gaga money, you've got the Duran money that you haven't touched, but eventually you're going to, and that money's going to run out. What are you going to do with it? Nothing, because it's all going to. First of all, most of it's probably going back to MLS, right? For other redistribution
Reinvestment.
reinvestment. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Now the Gaga Slanina is all there. So all 18, whatever. What do you get? 18? How much do you sell for?
I thought it was like a 10 or 11.
Maybe 10. All 10
Maybe
of
it
it
goes
goes.
up to 18. I
Yeah,
don't
all
know.
10 of it goes there, and then the Duran money is not. They get like a little bit more of it towards GAM, but the rest of it goes to the league or something like that. Again, I'm not an expert in monetary advances of the league, but eventually that money goes away and you need to supplement it again. You're taking away the opportunity for this guy to be seen on both of these guys to be seen on multiple levels, have bids come in for them, and then put a valuation on it. But instead, you're going to keep him at MLS, make him a 10th place out of 15 in the league, and they're just going to look at it as some kid in a MLS team. Like, there are so many. You can look at this from so many different aspects, and not a single one of them makes sense.
I know it's not exactly the same scenario, but it somewhat reminds me of like the whole Kellen Acosta situation. I just feel like teams are screwing over players like without considering what the players want or what the players are thinking. Like I wonder how much Gutierrez and Brady kind of had their opinion taken into account when they made that decision, if at all. I mean, maybe they didn't even consider them at all. I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like it, but it just seems like teams will make decisions on behalf of the players without really considering the players. I
I'll
mean, there's
tell
teams that do it right, like Philly, obviously. Jim Curtin is clearly supporting his guys, but I mean, this is just such a bad look for Chicago.
what I'll tell you is that there's also, first of all, they were not taken into account at all because there was a tweet that was put out that was something along the lines of, um, yeah, we would really love to go if they let us. It's a dream to play for the country, blah 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 blah. And then Ezra Hedrington basically was just like, no.
No, we have a playoff playing game to play for.
Yeah. God, what are we gonna do? What are these games gonna mean in fucking October? These games are gonna matter in October. No, they're not. But here's the thing: it's not just the Americans either. LA Galaxy's new left back out for Argentina was highly expected to be one of the big names called into the Argentinian U20, and he was left off. However, it was an MLS LA Galaxy Argentina conversation. Everybody talked and was like, hey, we think it's best right now. We would call him in, but right now he's the second left back. He might not get a lot of time. So LA Galaxy was like, bet. I think maybe we keep him here. He performs and we go on from there. That's not the conversation that was had for America, to my knowledge, because Chris Brady is the number one U20, unless Gaga gets called in, which I think he will. But again, if that is a story that comes out saying, hey, we talked about it, Brady was going to be number two, Gutierrez was going to sit behind Caden Clark and Cade Cowell and X, Y, and Z, and he was never going to see time. We thought it was better that they stayed here and helped us and got experience. That looks a lot better on a PR standpoint than yeah, sorry, bud, you're not going. you know, like it's all about optics in this game, and these are not good optics.
No, I find it very hard to believe that Gutierrez would not be starting in this team. Very, very hard. He's had a good season where he's consistently starting at the top level. For him to not be at least getting decent minutes, like if he's not starting, he's probably at least in like a Brendan Aronson type role for the World Cup. Like just maybe first guy off the bench. Like I just would find it very hard to believe that Gutierrez is not highly involved in that team.
Yeah, so it looks like the predictions right now from SBIsoccer.com. Slanina, Antonio Carrera from FC Dallas's MLS Next team, and Alex Borto, who is for Fulham's U21.
So Brady would probably be number two there.
Brady would probably be number two there. Emi Ochoa misses the cut from San Jose. And then we're looking at midfielders.
Yeah, more like attacking midfielders.
Yeah, more like attackers. So Paxton Aronson, Quinn Sullivan, who's more of an 8, Cade Cowell, who plays on the wing, Paredes, who plays on the wing, Diego Luna, who I think Gutierrez is better than, and Darren Yappy as a striker.
I don't know. Goody's got to start in that.
Goody plays in that. So you're taking,
yeah, I think Goody starts in that.
Brady makes a difference. Now, again, Caden Clark is in that group as well, but I think he's better than Caden Clark because Caden Clark hasn't played in forever. Owen Wolf, I haven't seen him play much. And the only person who would have been maybe in the running to beat him out is Rokas Pukska Pukstas.
Like the
Um,
award?
yeah, it is, but it's spelled differently.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. Anyways, that he was supposed to be the number one, number 10, but his team said that he's not going either. That is because they sit second in the Croatian division and are playing in a cup final on May 24th. So again, reasons that make sense.
Wait, but
Um,
Andrew, they have the round of 32 US Open Cup game against St. Louis.
bro,
I don't think you understand.
I'm telling you, if he doesn't make an appearance in that game, I'm flipping out.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what some of the other games are that Chicago is coming up too?
I'd love to
It's
hear
like
them.
it's a brutal schedule. Like they were probably not winning these. They're probably not winning these games even with them here. Let me find it. Hold on. Where'd it go? Uh, so they've got Nashville this weekend. I don't know when exactly they leave for international break, but they've got Nashville this weekend or today actually. Um, St. Louis in U.S. Open Cup round of 32. Then they play St. Louis again at the weekend. They've got Charlotte, then they've got Atlanta, and then New England. The only game in there is that's probably reasonable on paper that they'd win is Charlotte. The rest of them, you're playing three of the top four teams in the Eastern Conference. You were probably not winning those games anyway, which they may, especially against Atlanta. That probably would come back to bite me. But
I love that.
like, come on, like you're playing three of the top four teams in the Eastern Conference. If you lost those games because you lost Goody and Brady, you think people are going to lose their minds over that?
And guess what? If you let them leave for 4 games and we go back to the end of the year and you ask how many games did Chris Brady and Gutierrez play, I guarantee you people don't even remember that they weren't here for those 4 games, 5 games,
No,
however long
no
they're out.
shot,
Not
no
a
shot. They
not
remember.
a not a minute detail would be remembered in there.
No, but you know what they would remember if the USMNT U20s made a run at the World Cup.
Yeah,
I
if,
think
if
they would remember that.
US U20s behind Chris Brady or again, well, let's assume Chris Brady wasn't making it. US U20s behind Gutierrez running the 10 roll gets to the quarterfinals of the U20 World Cup, semifinals of the U20 World Cup. Gutierrez is $5 million minimum. But instead, we're going to keep him around so he can get his butt beat in by New England and Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it. But we can harp on the lack of understanding forever here.